If you're in the market for a brand new slim and sleek laptop, you've come to the right channel because I have two for you today. But first, if we're new to another, my name is Jamie, and if we're not new, welcome on back. I surely do hope that means if you subscribe, because we clearly both like tech, and that's what this channel is all about. Speaking of tech, we have the Surface Laptop 5 as well as the M2 MacBook Air. And both of these devices have a fair amount in common, starting with the fact that they both came out in 2022. And since they have so much in common, including the price, I'm just going to go ahead and flash the specs up on the screen. Of course, both can be configured to your liking. So for the purposes of this video, we're just going to focus on hardware, software, as well as the ecosystem. Whenever possible, I highly recommend that you shop refurbished or renewed. For example, Apple has a great refurbished section, and that's where I get a lot of my tech. For instance, I did get my Mac Studio from the refurbished section of the Apple Store. I did have to wait for the right time to get the spec that I was looking for. So when you do notice that it's there, I highly recommend you jump on it because they do kind of go pretty quick. But when you do receive it, the product is virtually brand new, which is great. The only difference you'll notice is the branding on the box is pretty plain. But for a deal on an Apple product, since they rarely, if ever, go on sale, I highly recommend shopping refurbished when you can. However, if you're looking for just the right spec for the Surface Laptop 5, those do tend to go on sale more often. I just recommend that you shop from reliable brands if you are straying away from Microsoft. For me, that would be Best Buy or Amazon. And I would also make sure the description of the product says like new condition. But what's great about both is that they do accept free returns without any open box penalties. But although both of these devices have a lot in common, the biggest distinguishing factor between both of them is going to be the operating system. So we're going to go ahead and start there. And of course, the Surface Laptop 5 comes preloaded with Windows 11. And although you might just consider it a facelift over Windows 10, it's a welcome facelift. I love how modern it looks and feels, and I also like how you could customize your Windows device to your liking. Another big deal is that you don't have to worry whether your software is available for Windows, and this could be a huge factor for both work and school. My journey into Windows and Surface all started because I needed to create a Linux virtual machine. At the time, it simply was just not available on the M1 Macs. Let's call it a blessing in disguise, because now I love using Windows devices again. Windows works great if you do have Android devices, however, as there are a lot of applications that mirror the macOS ecosystem. However, iPhone and Windows have their own little workarounds, like saving onto your OneDrive, but you could also link your iCloud account. iCloud is a little bit annoying because it consistently asks you to authenticate if you do happen to close it. It's a minor little annoyance, but at least you could access your iPhone files on your Surface device. And macOS is pretty darn good as well. You'll most notice those performance gains when you are handling apps that are native to the Mac, as they work shockingly fast. But even applications from larger scale developers now work just fine with Apple Silicon. The only time that you might notice a little roadblock here and there is when you are working with software companies that are a little smaller. For me, that was VirtualBox. So if you do use those type of things for work or school, the Mac might not be for you. It just doesn't make sense for software developers to pour all of these resources into optimizing these small programs for the Mac. But the same performance gains can be said for the Surface and Microsoft 365. Personally, my day is tied to Microsoft 365, and the Surface is just married to that line of software. Other than that, there are some nice Windows 11 features that aren't native to macOS, but there are third-party applications so that you could just install and mirror that experience. And because I was on macOS for over 5 years, I started to find these little quirks, these little shortcuts over on Windows that I just had to replicate on macOS. But I think that's enough on operating systems. We could probably dedicate a whole 30-minute YouTube video just on the differences between Windows 11 and macOS, but those are some of the situations that affected my experience. So we're going to go ahead and jump over on the build of these two devices, which we've already covered. They're built fantastic, and their price tags reflect that. And on the screen, you have specs regarding the displays, their size, and their weight. So feel free to pause, but generally, both are very light devices, with the Surface having this wedge-like design that's similar to the M1 MacBook Air, which is another fantastic deal, by the way. And I know a lot of people prefer the tapered feel when handling their laptops. It feels slimmer and more comfortable to hold, and you can recognize where the front of the device is just by holding. The MacBook Air has a boxy design, which I personally prefer, but I often find myself having to spin it around after having it set on a desk or a table because I've placed the wrong side in front of me. Both have a one finger open, and when you do open, you find that there are displays. The MacBook is slightly brighter, coming in at 500 nits with much thinner bezels and a 1080p webcam that is found on the notch. And as for color accuracy, I trust both of these devices, but what I don't trust is that 720p camera that is found on the Surface. It's just terrible. And what's also terrible are those thick bezels. They're just far too thick for a device that was released in 2022. But what the Surface has that the Mac will likely never see is the 10-point touch display. And if I haven't mentioned this already, I do have dedicated videos on both of these devices where I do dig in and provide a little more information. This is just a general overview of both devices, so be sure to check out those full-length videos or just simply ask down in the comments below. And let's go ahead and move on to keyboards and trackpads. And this is a category where the MacBook have both sucked as well as dominated, but now companies and brands, and in this case Surface, have started to catch up. The keys on the metal devices are absolutely fantastic with just the right amount of feedback without being annoyingly loud. It has backlit keys, and I like the contrast in color. Trackpad is just the right size and is very responsive for both gliding, tapping, or clicking. A good trackpad is hard to find, and Apple has always done them right, where their keyboards, not so much. The MacBooks have gone from touch bar to butterfly keys to what we have here and now, which is their Magic Keyboard with a full function row. So basically, the keys have gone back to being absolutely fantastic, as well as backlit. You'll find that same color contrast, but at the end, that's all a matter of personal preference. And on their sides, you will find a selection of ports. Both had headphone jacks and their own version of magnetically attaching safe charging. Personally, I've never used the Surface Pin connector or even MagSafe, which is why I appreciate the MacBook Air having two Thunderbolt 4 ports where the Surface only has one. I only wish that there was one on each side, but what is surprising and appreciated is the USB-A port that's found on the Surface. Having legacy ports is handy, not gonna lie, but I would still take a USB-C port all day. But that's it. They're pretty similar and minimal, which is okay considering their thin and light profiles. I think we're coming up on the home stretch, but one final thing that I do think is important are the speakers. And you won't see any visible speaker grills on either of these laptops, and they still sound pretty fantastic. I watch 90% of my content on mobile devices and basically only use a television if I'm watching TV with my partner, and both get loud enough. And not loud for the sake of just being loud, but clear and crisp audio. Again, it feels like magic since they don't have any visible speaker grills like other laptops, but instead the sound comes from beneath the keyboard. But that's about it. Two awesomely designed laptops that are sure to grow with you for many, many years. And if color is an incentive for you, the MacBook Air comes in its classic silver, as well as space gray. This, of course, being the Starlight, which is like a champagne-esque color depending on how the light hits it. The very popular Midnight, which is like a dark blue. And on the Surface, you'll find it black, aluminum, sandstone. This, of course, being the sage green. Now, if my color grading doesn't do it justice, because I do tend to oversaturate everything, the color also varies based on how the light hits it. To me, it's like a grayish green type color. It's hard to explain, but I absolutely love it. Now, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, be sure to do all those YouTube-y things, like comment down below which one do you think is right for you. Hit that like button while you're down there, and subscribe if you haven't. No, really, subscribe if you haven't. You get all of this free information. And until next time, see ya.